morning viewers. Today's topic is determinants. I'll start this topic by giving you first the basic concepts regarding determinants. I'll introduce the concept and then we'll talk about the properties of determinants. To start with, we'll consider a system of two equations in two variables x and y. The two equations are a1x plus b1y is equal to c1, a2x plus b2y is equal to c2. These two equations can be written in the determinant form as we have discussed in my earlier lectures as ax is equal to b, where A is a 2 by 2 matrix and xy is a column vector, while on the right hand side we have the column matrix c1, c2. We know how to solve these two equations from our school days algebra. One can very easily obtain x is equal to c1 b2 minus c2 b1 divided by a1 b2 minus a2 b1, while y can be simplified as a1 c2 minus a2 b1 divided by a1 b2 minus a2 b1. Now, we try to represent the expression a1 b2 minus a2 b1 in this form, and on the right hand side what I have written is called a determinant consisting of the matrix a1 b1 in the first row and a2 b2 in the second row. This is enclosed by pair of vertical lines. We call this as a determinant. This determinant is equal to the left hand side because one can very easily check that this left hand side is equal to a1 b2, this product, minus the product b1 a2. Similarly, one can write down the expression c1 b2 minus b1 c2 is equal to c1 b2 minus b1 c2. Then the expression x which we have obtained in my earlier slide, the expression x is equal to c1 b2 minus c2 b1 divided by a1 b2 minus a2 b1 as obtained in my earlier slide is this can be written as the matrix c1 b1 c2 b2, then we have enclosed in vertical lines divided by the matrix a1 b1 a2 b2 vertical lines. We call this as a determinant. The expression x is equal to c1 b2 minus c2 b1 divided by a1 b2 minus a2 b1 can be written as x is equal to c1 b1 divided c2 b2 divided by a1 b1 a2 b2. Now, here we have used the notation which we have used here. We call this as a determinant of the matrix a1 b1 a2 b2. Using this notation, we write down y in this particular form. We have already written this expression as this here. Similarly, we can obtain a1 c2 c1 minus c1 a2 as this determinant. Now, given this matrix A as a1 1 a1 2 in the first row, a2 1 a2 2 in the second row, one can define the determinant of the matrix as, or we denote it by determinant A, we can define it as a1 1 a2 2 minus a1 2 a2 1. This is a1 1 a2 2 the first term and a1 2 a2 1 is the second term with a minus sign in between. Now, the example is if I have given a matrix 1 7 2 8, then its determinant can be written as this, which can be computed as 1 into 8 is 8 minus 7 into 2 is 14 and the result is minus 6. Now, this is the way we define matrices for this is the way we define determinants for 2 by 2 matrices, but to define determinants in more general form, I will now give you some basic concepts. First thing is to define a permutation. A permutation is one to one onto mapping from the set 1 to 3 n onto itself. For example, if I have been given a set of first n natural numbers, then a sigma is denoted as a permutation can be defined as this. Here the number 1 is mapping to J1, 2 is mapping to J2 and n is mapping to Jn. What are J1, J2, Jn? They are simply the rearrangement of numbers 1, 2 to n. This is 1, 1 and on to mapping. So, no number will be repeated while writing down J1, J2, Jn, and no number will be dropped off. We can write down the determinant, we can write down the permutation in a form like sigma I is equal to Ji, where Ji lies between 1 to n and I lies between 1 and n. Or there is another way of writing this permutation as sigma is equal to J1, J2 to Jn. So, we have understood that permutation is simply a rearrangement of numbers. For example, if we consider this set of first 3 natural numbers 1, 2, 3, then 1, 3, 2 is a permutation on this set 1, 2, 3. We denote this permutation as sigma is equal to 1, 2, 3, this is the set, and 1 is mapping to 1, 2 is mapping to 3, 3 is mapping to 2. So, this way for a given set of 3 natural numbers there will be 6 permutations possible, and they are 1, 2, 3 the first permutation, then the next may be 1, 3, 2, next 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 3, 3, 1, 2 and 3, 2, 1. So, in all there are 6 permutation possible. So, if Sn is a set of all permutations, then we say that there are factorial n permutations possible on the given set of n numbers. We further define an ordered pair PQ of distinct integers P and Q, then Q is said to be an inversion if P is greater than Q. So, if we consider the permutation sigma is equal to J1, J2, Jn, then for given sigma we consider the set phi sigma, which is an set of ordered pairs J1, then we consider J2, J1, J1, next number J3, next ordered pair is J1, Jn, then we start with J2, J2, J3, J3, J2, J4, it will go up to J2, Jn, and finally we will have Jn minus 1 and Jn. So, we call this set as phi sigma. Now, in this set we consider how many inversions are there. Let us say we consider this ordered pair 1 greater than 2, not true. So, it is not an inversion. 1 greater than 3 is not an inversion. The number of inversions in the set is called the number of inversions of the permutations. I will explain this with an example. Next slide. A permutation is sigma is even if it has even number of inversions, and we call the permutation as odd if it has odd number of inversions. So, for this let us consider the permutation 3, 2, 4, 1 on the set of first 4 natural numbers. On this permutation we define the set phi sigma as 3, 2, 3, 4, 3, 1, these are the first 3. Then we start with 2, 2, 4, 2, 1, these are the ordered pairs, then we start with 4, 4 and 1. So, in all we are having 6 ordered pairs in phi sigma. Now, if we consider the number of inversions in this, then 3, 2 is an inversion because P is greater than Q, 3, 4 is not an inversion, 3, 1 is an inversion because 3 is greater than 1. Similarly, we will have 2, 1, 2, 1 and 4, 1 are inversions. So, in this set we are in all having 4 inversions, and consequently the above permutation is an even permutation. Now, we consider a square matrix of order n, and we try to form the product of n numbers. Then these numbers, this pi is denoting the product pi a I j I. We write it as a1 j1, a2 j2, a3 j3 and an jn. Now, if we consider for example sigma as this permutation, then this product I is equal to 1 to 4, ai ji will be a11, a24, a32 and a43. So, if we consider this product and consider this square matrix, then this product basically means that we are considering this term multiplied by this term and this term. Now, one can very easily observe that while formulating this product, we are considering only one term from a corresponding row and column. So, in the first row and column will have only this term. From the second row we are having this term, from the third row we are considering this term, and the fourth row I am considering this term. So, if I am considering this term, no other column is selected, no other column element is selected. If I am considering this term, no other column element is selected. So, I am selecting one term from each column and row and forming a product. So, this is one product, but actually there will be factorial 4 such products possible. So, if we are having n square matrix, then there will be exactly factorial n such products. Now, to each such product, if we assign plus or minus sign according as the permutation is even or odd, then the algebraic sum of all these products is defined as the determinant of the matrix. Now, this way we define determinant A as summation sigma over the set of all permutations, signum sigma determines the sign, and this is the product. This signum sigma is defined as -1 if sigma is odd and it is 1 if sigma is even. Now, let us see what is the meaning of this in context with a 2 by 2 matrix, for which we have already introduced the determinant. So, if we give this matrix 2 by 2 matrix, then its determinant is A11 A22 minus A12 A21. Now, one can see that if we consider this A11, then we cannot consider this element and this element, only this product is possible. So, we will have A11 A22 minus the second row I am considering this element, and this element if I am considering, then these two elements cannot be considered. So, we will have only option left with A11. So, we will have A12 A21. Now, this is coming with negative sign because this combination, this 1 2 2 1, this permutation is an odd permutation. So, we will have a negative sign. So, we will be applying this definition, we are forming product of two terms, and then this we use this concept, and what we have is the determinant of this 2 by 2 matrix. So, this is what we have already defined. Now, the similar concept is used for defining determinant of third order matrix. So, if I have a third order matrix as A11, A12, A13, A21, A22, A23, A31, A32, A33, then we can denote it by this symbol where A is the 3 by 3 matrix, or I can write it as determinant A, or I can write it like this. Now, this is a 3 by 3 matrix, so there will be factorial 3 terms possible. So, total are 6 terms which are possible, and each term is actually a product of 3 terms, A11, A22, A33, and all these are different. Every time I am considering only one term from a particular row and column. This one can check in each and every term. Now, if we consider these two terms, then one can very easily see that A11 is common from these two terms, and what remains is A22 A33 minus A23 A32, and these two can be written down in the form of a determinant. This is A22 A33 minus A23 A32. Similarly, one can write down A12 can be taken out from these two terms, and A13 can be taken out from these two terms, and then determinant A can be written in this particular form. I have taken the terms A11, A12, A13 outside, and then I am multiplying by a 2 by 2 determinant. Now, this A11, A12, A13 happens to be the elements in the first row. So, that means I am defining the determinant in terms of first row. But this is not all, we can define determinant in terms of any rows or columns, like what we can see in the next slide. So, if we start with determinant A is equal to this, then we can rearrange the terms in a different manner, yes, so that we can now have A11, A21 and A31, and they are multiplied by corresponding 2 by 2 determinants. So, this is not all, one can take out, one can expand in terms of any rows or any columns. This we have already discussed. Now, we will take the example. So, if we have to obtain the determinant of this 3 by 3 matrix, then I am expanding about the first row, then 1 is taken out, then we talk about, we evaluate this determinant 1 1 minus 3 2 minus, this is with negative sign, then we will talk about 2 1 product minus 3 1. So, the next term is 4 multiplied by 4 minus 1, and the final result is 11. What we have done for a 2 by 2 matrix, can we do it for a 3 by 3 matrix? For this, let us consider the matrix 3 by 3 matrix A11, A12, A13, A21, A22, A23, A31, A32, A33. To evaluate this determinant, what one can do is, can repeat this first column here and can repeat this second column here. Then form the product A11, A22, A33, A12, A23, A31 and A13, A21, A32. These products are written down here, and then we take the product of these terms like A13, A23, A31, A11, A23, A32 and A12, A21, A33, and these terms are written with a negative sign. So, that is how you evaluate a 3 by 3 determinant. So, if we illustrate this with this example, then I have copied down 1, 2, 3 here, and this column is copied down here. Then I obtain this product and this product minus this product and this product, and finally what I get is this 2, 36, 4, 6, 4 and 12. This comes out to be 20. This is the way we have evaluated third order determinant, but if you keep on applying this method for evaluating determinants, then things will become very tedious. So, we can evaluate high order determinants in terms of lower order determinants. This also I have explained with 3 by 3 determinant, but now I will give you more basic concepts related to this. So, for determinants of higher order matrices, we have a general formula involving determinants of lower order matrices. This is called minors. Now, minor is defined as Mij. It is denoted as Mij. It's a sub matrix of order n minus 1. It's a square submatrix of order n minus 1, which is obtained from A by deleting the ith row, that is this ith row and jth column. The determinant of the submatrix Mij is called the minor of the element Aij of A. For example, if I have this 3 by 3 matrix, then the determinant of A11, if we denote it by M11, then it is obtained by the determinant of this 2 by 2 square submatrix, while M22 is this element, is the minor of this element, and this submatrix is obtained by deleting this row and this column, and what we have is this minor. Now, M11, this is submatrix, M11 and M22 are submatrices. M11 is the minor of M11, which is the determinant of this, while M22 is the determinant of this submatrix A11, A13, A31 and A33. So, for given matrix A, the determinant A is this, and it is computed as A11 multiplied by A22, A23, A32, A33, that is this, minus A21 this multiplied by a second order determinant, and then A31 multiplied by this. Actually, this formula has already been obtained in my earlier slides. Using this concept, one can write down determinant A as A11 minor M11 minus A12 multiplied by M12 plus A13 multiplied by M13. This minus and plus, is coming because we have to have alternate signs, and this formula can be used for these signs. Now, we say A1j M1j, the sign which is to be taken is minus 1 raised to power j plus I, and this is when I expand this around the first row. But as I told you, this can be done for each and every row or column. So, if I take any row from 1 to 3, then this formula can be used for evaluating determinant, and this formula can be used for evaluating determinant when I am considering columns. Now, I have introduced the concept of minus, but the problem with minus is one has to remember the sign minus plus, which term is to be taken with minus sign, which term is to be taken with plus sign. So, what I do is, what we do is we introduce another term called as cofactor associated with the element Aij. We denote it by Aij. It is defined as Aij is equal to minus 1 raised to power I plus j determinant Mij. So, that minus 1 I plus j is taken with the cofactor, and in fact, we do not have to remember this formula. One can use this checkered pattern to associate sign with appropriate Mij. The first term starts with plus, the next term is minus, then plus, minus, and so on. So, this checkered pattern can be used for evaluating determinants. Using this, one can write down the determinant A as A11 A11 plus A12 A12 A13 A13. Here A11 is the cofactor of A11, A12 is the cofactor of A12, A13 is a cofactor of A13. So, in short, we can write down this expression as summation j is equal to 1 to 3 A1j A1j. This is cofactor. Then determinant A can also be written in this. I can take any value from 1 to 3. That means it can be expanded about any row, and this means j is taking values from 1 to 3. That means it can be expanded about any column. For general square matrix of order n, the formula can be written in this particular form, where I will take values from 1 to n and j will take values from 1 to n. This is what we have obtained earlier, and determinant A is equal to sigma belonging to Sn. So, that is how this definition is being derived from the definition which I have introduced in the beginning. Now, I illustrate this with the help of an example. Let us say A be a matrix such that its each row and each column has exactly one non-zero element, then its determinant is non-zero. See, if I am taking here a 4 by 4 determinant, then every row or column has only one entry non-zero. So, when you form this determinant and form factorial 4 terms, then you will notice that only one term will remain, rest of the terms will be 0. And what is that term? That term is A13, A22 this term, A31 this term, and A44 this term. Rest of the terms will be 0, and we are putting this with negative sign because this is of order, this is of inversion 1. So, it is an odd inversion, that is why we are having a negative sign. So, what is the determinant of this matrix? That is 1 into 2 into 3 into 1, and the final result is 6. Now, after defining the determinants, I will discuss the properties of determinants. These properties are important because they can be used to evaluate this can be used to compute the determinant in a convenient manner. Let us see the properties one by one. If all the elements in a row of the matrix A is 0, then determinant A is 0. Now, first let me give you the proof of this. Determinant A, as I told you, can be written as j is equal to 1 to n akj akj. This akj is a cofactor of akj. Now, if all the elements in a row of the matrix A is 0, then you can use that particular row for expanding the determinant. So, let us say K is the row in which will have all elements 0, then we can use this definition. Since Akj is 0, so for all values of j1 to n, so this everything will be 0. For example, if we have this determinant in which the third row has all elements 0, then the final result will be 0. One can very easily check. We start with 0, whatever be the determinant, this term will not contribute. Same thing will happen with this multiplied by its cofactor will not contribute anything, this multiplied by its cofactor will also not contribute anything, and that is what we are having 0. Now this proof I have given when the row of a matrix has all 0 elements, but it may happen that a column of a matrix has all 0 elements. The proof will be on the same lines, and the result will be that if all the elements in a column of a matrix A is 0, then determinant A is 0. Now the next property says that if the given matrix A has 2 or more identical rows, then still the determinant A will be 0. Now to prove this result, I will start with a 2 by 2 matrix, and in this case A22 and the first row is identical with the second row. So A22 A23 minus A23 A22, this is 0. Now this concept can be generalized for nth order determinant, because nth order determinant can be written in terms of n minus 1 1th order determinant. This n minus 1th order determinant will be written in terms of n minus 2th order determinant, and ultimately everything will be written in terms of second order determinant. And since all the second order determinants are 0 here, so the final result will be 0. So all second order minors are 0 in this case, and all higher order minors are also 0 because of this, and that is how the result is proved. For example, in this particular matrix, the second row and third row are identical, and that is why if you evaluate it, the final result will be 0. The next property says that if the given matrix A has 2 or more identical columns, then determinant A is 0. So earlier we have proved with rows, and this we have proved for columns. The proof will go exactly on the same lines as we have done earlier. Now this property says that matrix A is multiplied by a scalar k to get the matrix B, then determinant B is equal to k determinant A. For example, let us say we have a matrix A with elements Aij. If in the mth row we have k times Amj for all values of 1 to n, that means that if a row of a matrix A is multiplied by a scalar k, so let us say I am multiplying mth row of the matrix by k and I am getting a new matrix Bmj, then determinant B will be k times determinant A. The proof of this is simple. I am writing determinant B, by definition it is j is equal to 1 to n summation Bmj and its cofactor Bmj is equal to, now for Bmj I have k times Amj. So this k Amj into Amj. Now k can be taken outside, so what remains is Amj into Amj, and that is the determinant A. So determinant B is k times determinant A. So this is the result is proved, and we illustrate this result by this example where we are having a matrix 1 2 3 3 2 1 4 2 6, a 3 by 3 matrix. Now this particular row is 2 times this particular row. So if I take 2 outside, then this row becomes 2 1 3, and this is the same as 2, this is the same as if this row is multiplied by 2. So it is 2 4 6 3 2 1 2 1 3. So this determinant is equal to this determinant. Now in the next property we discuss what happens when the 2 rows of a matrix are identical, what happens to its determinant. So if 2 rows of a matrix are proportional, then determinant A is equal to 0. Now to prove this, we assume that mth row and ith row of the given matrix A are proportional. That means Amj is equal to Kij for all values of j between 1 to n. Then one can determine a matrix B which is same as Bij is equal to Aij for all values of I not equal to m, but that means all the rows of B and A are identical except the mth row. In the mth row of the matrix B is given by Bmj is equal to Aij, that means it is identical with the ijth row. Now that means one can take K outside from the B matrix, and what we have is determinant A is equal to K times determinant B. This is the result which we have proved in my earlier property. Now since determinant B has two identical rows, namely mth row and ith row, that means determinant B is 0. So I and m rows are identical in B, so determinant B is 0, and that means determinant A is also 0. Now look at this example. Here we are having 1 2 3 3 2 1 2 4 6, that is the first row and the third row, they are proportional. So one can write down it is 2 times this. So this is my B matrix. Now in this B matrix 1 2 3 and 1 2 3 in the first row and the third row are identical. So this determinant is 0, and that proves that this 3 by 3 determinant has value 0. Now if a matrix C is multiplied by a constant K, that means each and every row of the matrix A is multiplied by K, then determinant C is equal to K raised to power n determinant A, where n is the order of the matrix. The idea is each row is, from each row one can take K outside, and that way there will be n such K's taken out, and the final result is K determinant C is equal to Kn determinant A. Now if a row of a matrix A is multiplied by a scalar K to get the matrix B, then determinant B is equal to K determinant A. This is what we have proved in my earlier result, and if you apply it for each and every row, then we will be having this. Now the properties which we have discussed so far, they are applicable to rows. We have proved them for rows, but they are applicable to columns also. So all the properties are applicable to rows as well as columns. Now if the matrix B is obtained by interchanging two rows, namely R and S of the matrix A, then determinant B is the negative of determinant A. That means when you interchange two rows of a matrix, then this minus sign will come in between. Now the proof of this this thing can be proved very easily from this, because if you are changing two rows, then actually the signum sigma will change, the inversion will change, and one minus sign will be coming because of this. That is why determinant B is equal to minus determinant A. Now in the next set of properties we will see the effect of elementary transformation, elementary operations on matrices, and we will see what is their effect on determinants. So we have first elementary operation where we interchange ith row with jth row of the matrix. Now if we change ith row and jth row, we denote it by determinant A, Ri and Rj are interchanged. This is used as a suffix. Then this is equal to minus times A. This I have proved in my earlier slide. Now if you replace ith row by K times ith row, then Kri will go to Ri, and in that case if we use our earlier results, then determinant of A by interchanging Kri to Ri is equal to determinant A divided by K. I will explain this with examples. The third elementary operation is when we replace row j by a non-zero K times row plus rho j. So, k r I plus r j will be replaced by r j. So, that means determinant of A after replacing this by r j is equal to A. So, let me explain this with example. So, let us say I have a matrix A as A, B, C in the first row, R, S, T in the second row, U, V, W in the third row, and its value is 2. Let us say this, the A, B, C are such that this determinant is equal to 2. Then A, B, C, U, V, W, R, S, T, this determinant is actually obtained from this determinant by interchanging the second row and third row. So, because we are changing two rows, so the minus sign will come, since this determinant is 2, so this determinant will be minus 2. Now, all these elementary row operations are, all the results related with rows are applicable to columns also. So, if I write down this determinant as 3a b c 3r s t 3u v w, that simply means that I am multiplying this column by 3 and I am getting this, it is 3 times a, 3 times, this is actually related with this, not with this. So, I have to change it. It is not with this, I have to show this reference. This determinant is obtained from this determinant by multiplying this column by 3. So, this column is 3a, 3r, 3u, rest of things remain the same, b, s, v, c, t, w. Since this is multiplied by 3, so the effect of this is that it is 3 times 2 and the final result is 6. Now, this matrix is obtained by replacing the second column as b plus 2c, s plus 2t, v plus 2w. This is actually obtained by adding this plus 2 times this column. So, it is the second column C2 multiplied by 2 times third column. So, each element of second column will become b plus 2c, s plus 2t, v plus 2w, and the result will not be changed, it will remain as 2 only. So, this determinant and this determinant both have value 2. Now, the value of a determinant remain unaltered if rows are written as columns or vice versa, because all the properties which we have discussed so far, they are applicable to rows as well as to columns. And with this we have another property, that is determinant A is equal to determinant of A transpose, because the transpose A is actually obtained from the matrix A by writing rows as columns. So, that is why determinant A is equal to determinant of A transpose. The things will be further simplified if we talk about some special matrices like diagonal matrix. Now, if we have a diagonal matrix A having elements as C1, C2, Cn, the diagonal matrix A means it has only the diagonal elements non-zero, rest of the elements are 0. So, the determinant of A in that case will be C1, C2, Cn, because this is actually true from the result which we have discussed in my first property. So, if we have this diagonal element, diagonal matrix, then its determinant will be 1, 2 and 3, that is 6. So, we have to simply multiply the diagonal elements and that will be the value of determinant. Now, this result can be generalized to a triangular matrix. So, if we have a triangular matrix with main diagonal elements as C1, C2, Cn, then the determinant is obtained as the product of diagonal elements. Let us see the proof for this. So, let us consider this triangular matrix. This is actually an upper triangular matrix in which all the elements shown on the upper side of the diagonal, they are non-zero, while all the elements on the lower side of the diagonal are 0. So, if this determinant is to be evaluated, this determinant comes out to be the product of diagonal elements. The proof is simple. What we have to do is we will consider this A1, we can expand this determinant along this but first column. So, we will be having A11 multiplied by this minor plus 0 multiplied by its corresponding minor will not contribute anything, 0 multiplied by its minor will not contribute anything, 0 multiplied by this minor will not contribute anything. So, we will have only A11 multiplied by this minor. Now, for this minor we evaluate along this particular column. So, A22 multiplied by this minor will contribute, but rest of the terms will not contribute. Similarly, we will go to the next lower order minor, and this way we will continue, and finally we will have only this term left with us. So, what we have is the product A11, A22, ANN as the value of this lower triangular matrix. Now, this is the case when we are having lower triangular matrix. If we will have an upper triangular matrix in which only these terms in the lower diagonal, they are non-zero and these terms are 0. So, the result can be proved on the same very lines, only thing is instead of taking this particular row, one has to take this particular column in that case, and determinant A will be simply the product of diagonal terms. So, whether we have a triangular matrix or we have a diagonal matrix, its determinant will be product of diagonal terms. Now, we have seen number of properties for evaluating determinants. If we have to apply these properties, then things will be very complicated, especially when we have higher order determinants, because the computational effort required will be much more. So, what we do is we can apply basic definition, but a lot of computational effort will be required for that purpose. But if we use elementary transformations to a given matrix and simplify it to some suitable form, and then one can very easily evaluate the determinant with least efforts. So, what we can do is we can try to transform our matrix maybe to a triangular matrix, so that some effort is required to reduce it into triangular matrix, but then evaluation of determinant will be simple, because in that case you have to simply get the product of diagonal terms. So, that is the way to evaluate the diagonals. Let me explain this with an example. So, let us take a given matrix is A. If you have to evaluate this 3 by 3 matrix, then what you have to do is, one way maybe you just evaluate this multiplied by this minor minus this multiplied by its corresponding minor plus this multiplied by its corresponding minor, but that will require a lot of computational effort. Now, we will try to make this matrix as a triangular matrix, so that we can get the determinant by simply evaluating the product. Now, for this, if we apply we multiply the first row by 3, that is, this row is multiplied by 3. So, 3 into 6 into 12. Since I am changing the row by a multiple, so these two will be equal if we will be having 1 by 3 on this side. So, after applying this operation simply means 1 by 3 of this. Now, since these two are identical, so what I can do is R2 minus R1 is replaced by R2. So, second row is replaced by R2 minus R1. So, this is my new second row, this is this minus this, so it is 0, 1 minus 6 is minus 5, 2 minus 12 is minus 10, and third row remains the same. Now, on this determinant I will apply this transformation, this elementary operation, that is second row is minus 1 by 5 times R2. So, if I apply this row, then since I am multiplying by minus 1 by 5, so minus 5 will appear here, and this second row will become 0, 1, because minus 5 has been taken out, and minus 2, and will have 2 here. Now, for the third row, this row is changed here. How I have obtained this row? I have multiplied this row by 3. So, we will have 3 here, 9 here, and 12 here, and since I am multiplying it by 3, so I divided by 3 here. So, the factor is minus 5 by 9. So, this matrix is obtained. Now, again I can apply this operation. Third row is changed by R3 minus R1, because these two rows are identical now. So, you can this element is identical. So, if I subtract, I will get 0, then 1, 2, 0, 3 and 0. It is close to a triangular matrix, but still there are certain terms which will be not making it to be a diagonal element. So, I will write down as R3. I am interchanging two rows now. So, 1 and 2 will be here, and it is 0, 3. 0, 3, 0 is appearing here. Since I am interchanging two rows, so this minus sign will be absorbed here. Now, it is 3 R3 is replaced by R3. That means third row is replaced by 3 times this. So, 3 times this means 3 means here, and 2 into 3 is 6, and since I am multiplying by 3, so we will be having 5 by 27 here. So, now these two becomes identical. So, I will again apply this elementary transformation, and what I have is simply this and this will get cancelled. So, 0, 3, 0 will remain the same, but this 0, 3 minus 3 is 0, 6 minus 0 is 6. Now, this is now a triangular matrix, and its determinant will simply be the product of this term and this term, and what I have is this term. Now, in the beginning it may appear that we are doing lot of effort in reducing a given matrix into a triangular matrix, because lot of elementary operations have to be done. But if for 3 by 3 matrix it may be true, but when the number of as the size of matrix is increasing, then the effort involved in reducing the triangular matrix is much small as compared to evaluating factorial n products and simplifying the determinant. So, this effort is much less as can be seen from this 3 by 3 matrix. Now, we can see that if we evaluate this determinant by normal definition which I have given you earlier, then this comes out to be 10. So, the result is the same. So, the determinant evaluated by the usual definition also comes out to be the same as we have obtained in the case of triangular reduction. Finally, the determinant of 3A is 3 into 3, because A is a 3 by 3 matrix. So, the determinant of A is known, and since I am multiplying 3A means I am multiplying each and every row by 3. So, it is 3 raised to power 3, that is 27 into 10. So, determinant of 3A comes out to be 270. Now, in this example, we will try to evaluate this determinant by using properties of the determinants which we have discussed so far. In this example, we are trying to show that the value of this determinant is equal to b minus a into c minus a into b minus c. Now, this determinant is evaluated using elementary row operations. We will try to reduce this determinant into a triangular matrix. Now, to reduce it into a triangular matrix, we apply a series of elementary transformations. The first transformation is that the second row is replaced by R2 minus R1. So, here I am writing the new second row, it is R2 minus R1 of this. So, it is b square minus a square, b minus a, and 1 minus 1 is 0. Simultaneously, I apply R3 minus R1 to get new R3. So, that means c square minus a square, c minus a and 0. So, this matrix is obtained after applying these two elementary operations. Now, on this I apply these elementary operations. The idea is one can very easily see that b minus a can be taken outside from this row, and c minus a can be taken outside from this row. So, I say R2 divided by b minus a is R2, and R3 divided by c minus a is R3. So, the row will not be. So, if I apply these operations on this matrix, then what I get is B minus A into C minus A is taken outside. What we have is B plus A from here, 1 and 0 in the second row, C plus A will remain from the C plus A will be the remainder of B square minus A square when we take C minus A outside, then 1 and 0. Now, in this, if you expand around this column, then it will be plus, minus and plus. So, we will be having 1 into determinant into minor this, and what is the minor? It is B plus A multiplied by C plus A. So, these two remains as such, but when you simplify it is B plus A minus C plus A. So, we will have B minus C. So, this is evaluated as B minus A into C minus A into B minus C. In the next example, we try to verify that this determinant is equal to this determinant. Now, for this we again apply a series of operations. C3 plus C1 is equal to C1. So, if I multiply, if I add the third column and the first column, then this A will be out, A will be cancelled out, B minus C plus B will have only minus C, C minus A plus C will be having minus A. Yes. Now, if you compare this matrix with our final objective, one can note down that the columns are actually interchanged. So, to get the final result, we can interchange the columns C3 and C1. So, we apply this transformation. So, C3 becomes C1 and C1 becomes C3. This when we apply, we get this result, and since we are interchanging two columns here, so this minus sign and minus sign due to this interchange will be absorbed, and what we have is the final result A1B, B1C, C1A, which is the same as this. Viewers, with this we have arrived at the end of this lecture on determinants. In this lecture I have defined determinants. I have started with the 2 by 2 determinant, then I have introduced how to evaluate a 3 by 3 determinant, then we have given a general definition for nth order determinant. We have discussed some properties of the determinants, and using those properties we see how we can apply elementary transformation, and the determinant will reduce to determinant of a triangular matrix, and then the triangular matrix determinant can easily be computed. So, that is all for today's lecture. Thank you.